Welcome to another episode of A Day in My Life. We just wrapped up a big day. We have all things on the go this morning. I've just come into the city. One of the biggest questions I get before we get this show on the road, we are taking our darling daughter Rogie for a little walk. And usually the day starts with a big walk on the beach or gym or run, and we sort of rotate those three options. So let's take our little darling Rogie. Rogie! Oh, walkies.
You're heading into Salesforce soon and then hosting our double triple members.
Yes.
Personally, I'm very excited about the first IRL meetup for double triple.
How are you finding we're obviously 3 months in and we have 40 clients through the program now all across the world? How are you finding managing that, and how is everyone going in the program so far?
Really good. Little fight club starting to happen. Lots of banter. Seeing a lot of people learn from each other too, which is really cool. And just personally experiencing like a lot of repeat patterns in the process and in all the stages and the phases of growth for people. And that's just personally really rewarding to see that.
How are you feeling about Salesforce today?
Feeling great.
Yeah.
Talking to about 10 AEs. Had opening up a new division for Salesforce. And a bit of a product suite. But originally I worked with the VP of sales there. I worked with her at MoveWorks briefly. And she was like looking after the American market. And so she's now heading up she's in America, but she's heading up the APAC function for it. And so she's asked me to come speak with her team about how I basically open up the region here and just get traction by myself. And so we're just giving some tips around a bit of a workshop for an hour of how I went about that, insights into early on in my career when I was like 23, like I was having to go on site by myself to be able to go and present. And so, you know, how do I get in the rooms of those people? How do I use the channel to be able to open up doors? So, and a lot of the reps that I think I'm talking to, I check them all out on LinkedIn, and it's like they've been in probably an account executive role for like a 1 to 2 years max. So it's a great audience to speak to. I'm really excited to share some insights, and it's awesome. Like the whole point of double triple as well is like I love getting in the rooms and understanding how other companies are going to market. So it's like awesome to chat with them, what they're struggling with, how I could help potentially, but also the insights of like obviously the world's changing quite a lot from obviously bringing in AI, and how can you get in the rooms, because at the end of the day so many companies have like there's like 500 enterprise applications that like a large organization uses on average. So it's just like, how do you break down to replace software that they're already using or like a new bit of software? So either way, it's really hard to get into the doors of these large organizations. And so that's why the sales cycle also can take anywhere from like 2 months to 12 months to 2 years. You just got to keep nurturing them and showing value throughout that whole life cycle. So keen to chat with them all about that.
We have all things on the go this morning. I've just come into the city as I'm speaking to the Salesforce team around how I helped go to market in the MoveWorks side of things, and how they can, you know, pick up some tips, because obviously they're a really large vendor. MoveWorks was a much more startup scale up, and how I was able to get into the rooms of executives to be able to pitch them a new product. After that, I'm heading back to where we lived, and then we have a few of the folks from the double triple program coming up, and we're going to have lunch together. And so looking forward to hosting them and having them all around at ours and just hanging out as a crew. Will be the first time we have a fair few of the Sydney folks come together, as we have all people across the world. We have people in America, Europe, Bangalore, like everywhere. And so probably about 20 people we have in Sydney, so I think probably half of them are coming up. But otherwise, join us for the day. Really looking forward to taking you around. Just got wrapped up with the Salesforce team, speaking to about 10 to 15 folks, but really discussing some tips on things that I had learned over my career at MoveWorks. The whole point of this conversation was obviously MoveWorks being the only person or sales rep in Australia or APAC region for an American-based company, was how did I get in the rooms of companies like ANZ Bank or Toll Group when there was only like 2 of us here in region, right? So Salesforce obviously being a really large organization, even though they have a really great logo, how can they have the startup scale up mindset because I think a lot of these sales reps can be like almost like passive in these companies, and you need to have that sort of hunger mentality, very hunter vibes, than sort of that farmer mentality, even if you're in a really large company. And then we discussed like tips on how I got a lot of people to events. And so I had to be really creative here. I had like 20K of budget to spend each year on terms of marketing events. And so a lot of the aspects of how I ran executive breakfasts and things like that. And what was good about organizing a lot of these events is that I wasn't a big fan of obviously drinking or nighttime events. And a lot of the execs, right, they have families to get home to after dinner. They're doing long hours. And so I would always run like breakfasts or lunches. A lot of the times how I would even get people there, as simple as like you send people an email to say like register for my field event or whatever, like breakfast event, but I would actually just like add them as on a calendar invite. So like physically they had to like accept or decline my invite, and therefore I knew when they would get that, because I had to like accept it, decline it. And if they declined it, I would even say like, hey, apologies, of course you can't come. Thank you for letting me know. But is there anyone else on your team that would get a value of this? And little things like I know for myself, when I get invited to an event and I literally don't know anyone there, I'm probably not going to go. Being more introverted, I want to go to an event where I know people. What I used to do to make sure like high rate of people would show up to these events is connect customers and peers to one another. These events, I'd always want like 30% of customers and then like 70% that are prospects that I'm wanting to sell to. What would happen is a lot of these customers, I'd connect with prospects on like LinkedIn and say like, hey, you are very similar in industries or roles, and I think you'd get a lot of value out of meeting one another. When I would then go on to these events, a lot of the time I didn't have to do a lot of the selling. It was more like peer-to-peer, people talking to one another, what they've learned, what they're looking for. Some little tactics around like that we discussed around the events that I would do, and I would always like anchor myself on like one core event each quarter, which then build my pipeline up, because then I could get people there, new opportunities would come, but then also like try and meet them before and after those events there to keep the opportunities progressing as well. Really great chat with Salesforce. Back home now, we have the crew arriving in about 45 minutes. A whole bunch of clients are coming over to ours for a brunch, and really excited to meet them all in person. This will be the first sort of mini IRL catch up we are doing with the Sydney folks. So really excited to meet them all now. Bring you along on the journey behind the scenes with them. We just wrapped up a big day.
It was really cool actually. Like Ty and Alex Miles are both working on like LinkedIn social selling. So it's just like, it's cool they've come into like a 3-month program, and then just like helping them now really accelerate and level up their career in tech sales. And like a big repeat thing that keeps coming up in the community is continuing to use LinkedIn. Personal branding, professional reputation too can really come through to that. And then I think you always say like post between personal and professional content, and they're starting to use that in a really strategic way, which is super cool.
As well, like the whole double triple community get around each other's posts. We have some clients, we get them to make a post if they can around jumping into tech sales, and we reshare that onto our network. Last week we had a client that had like 5 managers reply on there like, yes, contact me. And then they were able to have 5 companies direct access into getting a job interview, and then they landed a role. Really just from like our network was like trusted in the space, and then we recommend someone, they would like to put them forward. So just using like that network effect in double triple has been really cool to see.
Yeah. We work to work, you late to work, I holla and they send it. You know my pride was colder than Chicago in December.
One of the biggest questions I get in the DMs is like, what are the roles that me and Gabe play in the business, and what are our strengths and weaknesses? I'm focused on marketing and sales, and then Gabe's very much focused on like chief product officer, the user journey of our clients, and very much like operating, making sure all the systems are talking to one another. And obviously we both feel customer success and fulfillment, because that's the lifeblood of our whole business, is making sure customers are having a great experience and the constant enhancements there. And so that's been really cool how I've been blending the roles together just to have shared responsibilities, because starting a new business is almost like you're just thinking together what you both need to do, and then maybe coming together on each project. But now we really have separate streamlines so we can have clear focus on the day. Otherwise it's really hard for me to go from like this side of the brain to this side of the brain and like trying to do everything. And so we've just really clearly taken separated roles on that over the past couple of weeks. Awesome back and buy session. We're heading off to our favorite cafe now. It is literally the best coffee on the Central Coast. It's like a little hidden gem, this cafe.
The best coffee on the Central Coast. So okay, building double triple, how are you finding the difference between B2B versus B2C sales?
Yeah, it's interesting because B2B is obviously you're going off the company brand, and obviously I'm selling tech. So you'd want to hope they have some sort of way for end users to be able to engage in their technology, or they have a strong brand. But the difference between them both really is like you have in B2B selling like 3 months to a 12-month sales cycle. So during that whole session, there's like almost different stages you got to get to for someone to want to commit to buy. So it's like obviously meeting them, and then it's understanding their pain, and then it's like going through technical scoping requirements, and you got to go through like building a business case. Then let's say they're like all good, they're like saying thumbs up, we're good to go ahead. Then you got to go through like security and legal, and that could be hurdles in itself to even get a contract signed. And so over this whole period of time, you're basically consulting and building relationships with them. But whereas like B2C, of that whole timeline of doing sales is compressed into one call when you're meeting them. And so you almost got to go through like all those objectives and all those like framings all in that one call. But what the difference is obviously like the personal branding and like the YouTube videos and everything does a lot of the heavy lifting at that front part. So of course people could be talking to you, like seeing you for like 4 months to 12 months before obviously purchasing from you. Whereas this thing, you are running that whole sales cycle with them. And so like that's how I find it very different. But it's lots of fun. What I like about doing B2C now is obviously like the distribution at which you can do across all platforms. When you're in B2B, it's more like conferences and different ways of doing marketing. So it's all still really translatable. If this is interesting to you, or we really want you to drop a comment in the comments below, anything else you want to see us rabbit hole into. We've sort of got a format going on at the moment where we're showing a bit more of like the 2 day in the life, and then one more, a bit more education. So drop the comments in below, like and subscribe, it helps the channel a lot. We really appreciate you all being here to watch another episode, watching us build double, triple.